Hello and welcome back to Cheating Tales Lab. We're grateful for each view and comment. Tell us, from which country or city are you watching today? We enjoy connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, The Revelation. Maxwell Donovan loosened his tie as he trudged up the steps to his three-story brownstone. The clock on his watch read 11:42 p.m., another late night, closing a high-profile case that had consumed his life for the past 4 months. As one of Boston's most formidable criminal defense attorneys, Maxwell had built a reputation for being ruthlessly effective. His colleagues called him the Hammer for his unrelenting approach in the courtroom. The house was eerily quiet when he entered. Usually, Vanessa would leave a light on in the kitchen, but tonight the downstairs was completely dark. Maxwell climbed the stairs, his footsteps echoing through the hollow silence. Something felt off. When he pushed open the bedroom door, he was surprised to find Heather, his wife's younger sister, sitting on their bed. Her eyes were red, mascara smudged beneath them. "Max," she said, rising to her feet. "I've been waiting for you." "Where's Vanessa?" Maxwell asked, scanning the room. The closet door was ajar, and he could see empty hangers where his wife's designer clothes once hung. "She left this morning with Liam." "Forever," Heather said, handing him a folded piece of paper. "She wants me to comfort you." Maxwell stared at the note in his hand, his face hardening as he read the hastily scrawled words. "Max, I can't do this anymore. I've been living a lie for too long. Liam makes me feel alive in ways you never could. Don't try to find us. Heather will help you through this. I'm sorry. Vanessa." The letter crumpled in his fist. 10 years of marriage reduced to a few dismissive sentences. He'd given Vanessa everything. The house, the lifestyle, the status that came with being Mrs. Maxwell Donovan. And Liam Porter, his supposed friend, the struggling artist he'd helped countless times, even funding his gallery showing last spring. "How long have you known?" Maxwell whispered, his voice dangerously quiet. Heather stepped closer, her perfume, similar to Vanessa's but with subtle differences, filling his senses. "It doesn't matter," she said, her fingers brushing against his arm. "Shall we begin?" Maxwell looked at her, really looked at her. 28, for years younger than Vanessa. Same chestnut hair, same high cheekbones, but where Vanessa's eyes held perpetual dissatisfaction, Heather's burned with ambition. He had always sensed her attraction to him, felt her gaze lingering whenever they were in the same room. "Begin what exactly?" Maxwell asked, though he already knew the answer. "Your revenge," Heather whispered, sliding the suit jacket from his shoulders. "Vanessa always took everything from me. Now it's my turn to take something from her." That night, Maxwell crossed a line. As a man who lived by a strict code in every aspect of his life, he had never been unfaithful to Vanessa. But betrayal changed everything. With each kiss, each touch, he felt himself transforming, shedding the skin of the devoted husband and embracing something darker, more primal. Later, as Heather slept beside him, Maxwell stared at the ceiling, his mind calculating. This wasn't just about sex or immediate gratification. No. What had begun forming in his mind was something far more elaborate. Vanessa and Liam had humiliated him. They would pay, methodically, completely, without mercy. Maxwell slipped out of bed and walked to his home office. From the safe hidden behind a framed law degree, he removed a leather-bound notebook. Inside were names, dates, locations, information he had been collecting for years, a habit from his days as a defense attorney who needed leverage. He had never intended to use any of it against his wife, but circumstances had changed. He opened his laptop and began typing. By dawn, he had created a detailed dossier on both Vanessa and Liam. Their habits, their weaknesses, their secrets. The foundation of his revenge was being laid, brick by meticulous brick. Chapter 2, The Return. 3 weeks flew by in a haze of strategic planning and passionate nights with Heather. Maxwell had not missed a day of work. Appearing in court, meeting clients, maintaining the facade of a man in control. Only those closest to him might have noticed the new edge to his demeanor, the cold calculation behind his eyes. Heather had essentially moved in, bringing a suitcase of clothes and making herself at home in Vanessa's space. She proved to be an eager accomplice, providing insights into Vanessa's thinking that Maxwell found invaluable. "She'll come crawling back," Heather had predicted one night as they lay in bed. "Liam isn't built for the long haul. He's passionate but flaky. When the money runs low and reality sets in, she'll remember what she gave up. Maxwell had just smiled. Let her come. On the 23rd day after Vanessa's departure, Maxwell returned home to find Heather in a state of agitation. She called, Heather said without preamble. Vanessa called the house phone. She's coming back tonight to talk things through with you. Maxwell nodded calmly, loosening his tie. And what time should we expect this momentous return? Around 8. She thinks I've been staying over occasionally to help you. She has no idea. Heather's voice trailed off. That you've been in my bed every night. Maxwell finished, watching her face carefully. Are you having second thoughts, Heather? She straightened her spine. Not a chance. I'm just wondering what you plan to do. I plan to listen, Maxwell said simply. And then I'll decide her fate. At precisely 8:07 p.m., the front door opened. Maxwell was seated in his leather armchair in the living room, nursing a glass of bourbon. Heather had made herself scarce, retreating to the guest bedroom as instructed. Vanessa stood in the doorway, looking smaller than he remembered. Her designer outfit couldn't disguise the exhaustion in her eyes. She'd lost weight. Max, she began, her voice wavering. Thank you for seeing me. It's still my house, he replied evenly. She winced. I deserve that. I deserve worse. She moved into the room tentatively, perching on the edge of the sofa across from him. I made a terrible mistake. Which one? Maxwell asked, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. Leaving me for my friend, or coming back when he inevitably disappointed you? Tears sprang to her eyes. You don't understand. Liam, he changed once we left. Became controlling, paranoid. He drank all day and couldn't work. We were staying at a cabin his family owns in Vermont, and it was like being trapped with a stranger. She leaned forward. Max, he hit me. Maxwell studied her face, noting the faint yellowish bruise partially concealed with makeup near her left temple. Rage flared briefly, not because he still loved her, but because someone had damaged what he considered his property. I'm sorry to hear that, he said, his voice betraying no emotion. What exactly do you want from me, Vanessa? Another chance, she whispered. I know I don't deserve it, but these past weeks have shown me what I threw away. You were always good to me, Max. Always solid. I was a fool. Maxwell set down his glass and leaned forward, elbows on his knees. And Liam? Over. Completely over. I left while he was passed out drunk. She rubbed her arms as if cold. I'm afraid he might come looking for me. I see. Maxwell stood and walked to the bar cart, refilling his glass. You're welcome to stay in the guest room tonight. We can talk more tomorrow when we're both rested. Relief flooded her face. Thank you, Max. Thank you so much. As he climbed the stairs later that night, Maxwell paused outside the guest room where Vanessa was staying. He could hear muffled crying. Down the hall, in the second guest room, Heather waited. Two sisters under his roof, both playing their parts in the drama he was orchestrating. Maxwell smiled to himself. The game was just beginning. Chapter 3. The Decision. The following morning, Maxwell rose at his usual time of 5:30 a.m. He completed his workout in the home gym, showered, and was perfectly dressed in a charcoal suit by the time he heard movement from the guest rooms. He was sipping coffee in the kitchen when Vanessa appeared, wearing borrowed pajamas from her old dresser. She looked disoriented, her usual confidence absent. Coffee, Maxwell offered, already pouring her a cup. He slid it across the marble island along with the cream she preferred. Thank you, she murmured, wrapping her hands around the mug. Max, about last night. We agreed to talk this morning, he interrupted smoothly. And we will. But first, there's something you should know. She looked up, wary. What is it? Your sister has been staying here since you left. Vanessa's face registered confusion, then relief. Heather? Oh, that's good. I'm glad you weren't alone. She was always fond of you. More than fond, it seems, came Heather's voice from the doorway. Vanessa turned, clearly startled by her sister's appearance. More startling was Heather's attire, one of Maxwell's dress shirts and nothing else, her hair tousled from sleep. What is this? Vanessa stammered, looking between them. Heather glided into the kitchen and poured herself coffee, comfortable in the space in a way that clearly communicated intimacy. You asked me to comfort him, remember? Your note was quite specific. Color drained from Vanessa's face. Max, is this true? Maxwell leaned against the counter, observing the sisters with clinical detachment. You left me, Vanessa. You abandoned our marriage for another man. Did you expect me to live like a monk in your absence? But my sister? Vanessa's voice rose, indignation displacing her earlier contrition. Of all people, you're hardly in a position to take the moral high ground, Heather snapped. You left your husband for his friend. At least I waited until you were gone. This is insane, Vanessa said, standing abruptly. I came back to save our marriage, Max. To make things right. Did you? Maxwell asked quietly. Or did you come back because Liam turned out to be a violent drunk who couldn't provide the lifestyle you've grown accustomed to? Vanessa flinched as if struck. That's not fair. Very little in life is fair, Maxwell replied. I've learned that lesson thoroughly these past few weeks. The doorbell rang, interrupting the tense standoff. Maxwell checked his watch. Right on time. Who is that? Vanessa asked, suddenly anxious. Why don't we find out? Maxwell gestured toward the hallway. At the front door stood Anthony Reese, Maxwell's private investigator and former client. A burly man with a neatly trimmed beard and the watchful eyes of someone who had seen too much of human nature's darker side. Mr. Donovan, Anthony nodded respectfully. I have the information you requested. Maxwell ushered him into the living room where the sisters had followed, curiosity overriding their animosity. Anthony has been tracking Liam's movements since the day you left, Maxwell explained to Vanessa, whose face had gone pale. I was curious where you'd gone, who you were with, what you were doing. He turned to the investigator. What's the latest? Anthony cleared his throat. Mr. Porter checked out of the Vermont cabin yesterday afternoon. He appeared intoxicated and became belligerent with the property manager. He made several calls from a payphone in town, then purchased a bus ticket to Boston. He arrived at South Station at approximately 10 p.m. last night. Vanessa sank onto the sofa. He followed me. Oh God, there's more. Anthony continued, glancing at Maxwell for permission to proceed. At his employer's nod, he went on. Mr. Porter has been making inquiries about your whereabouts, Mrs. Donovan. Rather aggressive inquiries. He was spotted outside your friend Nicole's apartment building at midnight. Nicole, Vanessa whispered. I stayed with her before coming here. He must have guessed. Maxwell dismissed Anthony with thanks and a thick envelope. When the door closed behind him, the house fell silent except for Vanessa's ragged breathing. He'll come here next, she said finally, looking up at Maxwell with genuine fear. He knows this is the logical place I'd return to. Most likely, Maxwell agreed, his voice eerily calm. The question is, what should we do about that? We, Vanessa repeated, hope creeping into her voice. This involves all of us now, Maxwell said, gesturing to include Heather. Liam was my friend. You were my wife. Decisions must be made. What kind of decisions? Heather asked, moving to stand beside Maxwell in a clear demonstration of allegiance. Maxwell walked to the window, gazing out at the manicured lawn of their exclusive neighborhood. In the 3 weeks of Vanessa's absence, he had considered multiple scenarios, multiple paths forward. Now, with Vanessa returned and Liam in pursuit, the optimal strategy was crystallizing. I could forgive you, he said, still looking outside. We could attempt reconciliation. I could send Heather away, pretend these weeks never happened. We could try to rebuild. Vanessa began to speak, but Maxwell held up his hand. Or, he continued, turning to face them, I could pursue divorce. You'd be entitled to half of everything, of course. You could take your settlement and disappear, start fresh somewhere Liam couldn't find you. There's a third option, Heather suggested, her eyes gleaming with something dangerous. We could deal with Liam permanently. The silence that followed was heavy with implication. What exactly are you suggesting? Vanessa asked her sister, voice barely above a whisper. Maxwell moved to the center of the room, commanding attention as he did in courtrooms. I'm suggesting we work together to solve the Liam problem. After that's resolved, we can determine the future of our domestic arrangements. Decision made. Maxwell outlined his proposed course of action. By noon, all three were committed to their roles in what Maxwell was already thinking of as the reckoning. The game was evolving, pieces moving into position. Maxwell felt a familiar rush, the same sensation he experienced when constructing an unassailable defense for a guilty client. Only this time, he wasn't defending. He was prosecuting, and the sentence would be severe. Chapter 4, The Strategy. That evening, Maxwell convened what he cynically termed a family meeting in his home office. The large mahogany desk that had witnessed the drafting of countless legal strategies now served as command central for a different kind of case. Liam's primary weakness is his impulsivity, Maxwell began, addressing Vanessa, who sat rigidly in a leather chair across from him. Heather perched on the edge of the desk, deliberately in Vanessa's line of sight. He acts on emotion rather than reason. We can use that. He's also an alcoholic, Vanessa added, attempting to contribute meaningfully. 3 or 4 drinks, and his judgment completely disappears. Maxwell nodded, making a note. Excellent. That's exploitable. What exactly are we trying to accomplish here? Vanessa asked, shifting uncomfortably. I just want him to leave me alone. To leave us all alone. Maxwell and Heather exchanged a look that Vanessa couldn't quite interpret. That's the minimum outcome, Maxwell agreed. But Liam violated certain principles when he pursued my wife. When he struck you. His voice remained even, but his eyes hardened. There must be consequences. What kind of consequences? Vanessa asked, a tremor in her voice. Instead of answering directly, Maxwell turned to his computer and pulled up a document. Liam's financial situation is precarious. His last gallery showing, the one I financed, netted him approximately $30,000. Most of that is gone. His credit card debt exceeds $50,000. He recently applied for a loan using his family's cabin as collateral. How do you know all this? Vanessa asked, clearly disturbed. I make it my business to know things, Maxwell replied. Knowledge is leverage. What about his art career? Heather interjected. Vanessa always said he was on the verge of a breakthrough. Vanessa flushed. That's what he told me. That big things were coming. Delusion, Maxwell said dismissively. His agent dropped him last month. Too difficult to work with, apparently. His drinking has affected his output. No gallery in Boston will touch him now. Jesus, Vanessa whispered. I had no idea. Of course you didn't, Maxwell said without inflection. You were too dazzled by his charm to see the reality. It's a common enough mistake. The barb hit its target. Vanessa's face crumpled momentarily before she regained composure. So what's your plan? Financial ruin? He's already there. No, Maxwell said, closing the laptop. Something more comprehensive. Liam took something precious from me. I intend to return the favor. He outlined the strategy in methodical detail. Vanessa would reach out to Liam, suggesting a reconciliation. They would meet at a specific location, a small, exclusive hotel where Maxwell had connections. Meanwhile, Maxwell would implement certain financial maneuvers that would appear to come from an anonymous benefactor interested in Liam's work. But that's manipulation, Vanessa said, struggling with the concept. It feels wrong. Wrong. Heather laughed harshly. Like sleeping with your husband's friend and abandoning your marriage without a proper conversation was right. Vanessa flinched. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. Consider this your opportunity for atonement, Maxwell said. He leaned forward, fixing Vanessa with his penetrating gaze. You created this situation. Now you can help resolve it. Or you can leave, again, and face whatever consequences Liam has in mind for you. Alone. The implicit threat hung in the air. I'll help, Vanessa said finally. What do you need me to do? Over the next 2 days, Maxwell engineered the first phase of his plan. His firm represented several high-net-worth clients who owed him favors. One owned the boutique hotel where Liam would be lured. Another controlled a small but prestigious art foundation that could be persuaded to express interest in a struggling artist's work. Vanessa made the call to Liam from Maxwell's office, with both Maxwell and Heather listening on speaker. Her performance was surprisingly convincing. A woman torn between 2 men, confused about her feelings, asking for a private meeting to sort things out. Liam's initial reaction was predictably volatile. Accusations, recriminations, profanity. But when Vanessa mentioned staying at the Vanguard Hotel, one of the most exclusive in Boston, Liam's tone changed. Money had always been a weakness, Maxwell had noted. The implication that Vanessa had access to funds independent of either man was bait too tempting to resist. Tomorrow at 8, Liam had finally agreed. But this better not be a game, Vanessa. I'm not in the mood for games. After the call, Vanessa was visibly shaken. He sounds worse. More unstable. Perfect, Maxwell said, making another note in his leather-bound book. That works in our favor. Max, Vanessa began hesitantly. What's the endgame here? What happens after the hotel meeting? Maxwell closed his notebook and gave her a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Just as happens, Vanessa. Pure and simple. That night, as Heather slept beside him, Maxwell finalized the details of his strategy. Each element was carefully constructed to appear coincidental, with no traceable connection to him. The Art Foundation's interest, the hotel reservation, the financial opportunity that would be dangled before Liam. All would seem like strokes of incredible luck to a desperate man. And desperate men made mistakes. Maxwell was counting on it. Chapter 5. The Deception. The Vanguard Hotel occupied a former bank building in Boston's financial district, its neoclassical facade disguising ultramodern interiors. Suite 712 had been secured under a corporate name linked to one of Maxwell's shell companies, its connection to him buried beneath layers of legal paperwork. Vanessa stood before the suite's full-length mirror, adjusting the black cocktail dress that Maxwell had selected for the evening. It was elegant but revealing, calculated to distract Liam from thinking too clearly. "I'm not sure I can do this," she said, meeting Maxwell's reflection as he approached from behind. "You can and you will," he replied, placing his hands on her shoulders. "Remember, you're merely the lure. Heather and I will handle the rest." On the coffee table lay an array of items. A bottle of Liam's favorite bourbon, a portfolio containing fabricated art fellowship documents, and a small digital recorder. Heather was in the adjoining room of the suite, monitoring the surveillance equipment that Maxwell's security contact had installed earlier that day. "He'll be at the bar in 20 minutes, Heather called out. The hotel security just texted. "He's wearing a brown leather jacket and looks intoxicated already." "Perfect," Maxwell said, turning Vanessa to face him. "You remember your lines?" She nodded, her face pale beneath carefully applied makeup. "Meet him at the bar. Bring him to the suite. Get him talking about the Vermont cabin. Pour him drinks. Excuse myself to the bathroom when he starts getting aggressive. And then, leave through the connecting door to the adjoining room. Text you." Maxwell studied her, searching for signs of hesitation or deception. Finding none, he nodded. "Good. Now go." After Vanessa left, Maxwell joined Heather in the surveillance room. Multiple monitors displayed different angles of the hotel bar, the elevator, and the corridor leading to their suite. "She's at the bar," Heather reported, pointing to a screen. Liam just spotted her. They watched as Liam approached Vanessa. Even without audio, his body language conveyed aggression, leaning into her space, gesturing sharply with his hands. Vanessa placed a calming hand on his arm, leaning in to whisper something. Gradually, Liam's posture softened. "She's good," Heather remarked. "I didn't think she had it in her." "Desperation is a powerful motivator," Maxwell replied, checking his watch. "They should be heading up soon." Sure enough, minutes later, Vanessa led Liam to the elevator. On another monitor, they watched the pair exit on the 7th floor and proceed down the hallway to Suite 712. Maxwell activated the suite's audio feed just as Vanessa unlocked the door. "Quite a step up from the cabin," Liam was saying, voice slightly slurred. "Who's bankrolling this? Not your precious husband, I hope. Does it matter?" Vanessa's voice was honey smooth. "I wanted neutral territory to talk." The sound of the door closing was followed by Liam whistling low. "Hell of a neutral territory. Is that Blanton's?" "You remembered." "Of course I did. Have a seat. Let me pour you a drink." Maxwell and Heather exchanged satisfied glances as they listened to the clink of glasses, the pouring of bourbon. "So talk," Liam said after a moment. "You said you wanted to explain." "It's complicated," Vanessa began. "Being back in that house with Max, it brought back memories. Not all of them good." "Cut the crap," Liam interrupted. "You left me high and dry at the cabin. After everything we'd been through. After I gave up my life in Boston to start over with you. You were drinking constantly," Vanessa countered, voice hardening. "You became someone I didn't recognize. Someone who hurt me." A pause, then Liam's voice, softer now. "I shouldn't have done that. I was out of my mind. But you provoked me, Vanessa. You knew exactly which buttons to push. That doesn't excuse." "Of course it doesn't," Liam cut in. "Nothing excuses it. I'm just explaining. The isolation, the drinking, your constant comparisons to Maxwell fucking Donovan and his perfect life. It was too much." The conversation continued in this vein, with Liam alternating between apologies and recriminations. Maxwell observed dispassionately as Vanessa played her role to perfection, keeping Liam talking, refilling his glass, slowly steering the conversation toward the Vermont cabin. I miss that place, she said eventually. The privacy, the simplicity, no lawyers, no galleries, no complications. Liam snorted. Yeah, well, we can't go back. I had to put the cabin up as collateral for a loan. Probably going to lose it anyway. What if you didn't have to? Vanessa asked, her voice deliberately light. What if there was a way to solve all your financial problems and keep the cabin? Maxwell tensed, listening intently. This was the pivot point, the moment when the trap would begin to close. What are you talking about? Liam asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. There's something I need to show you, Vanessa said. The rustle of papers indicated she was retrieving the portfolio. I made some inquiries while I was thinking things through. The Harrington Foundation is looking for emerging artists for their residency program. Full funding, studio space, living stipend. The Harrington Foundation? Liam repeated, sounding stunned. They're major players. Why would they be interested in me? Because I sent them your portfolio, Vanessa said. The real work, not the commercial stuff you've been doing to pay bills. They were impressed, Liam. Very impressed. This can't be real, Liam stammered. Papers shuffled as he presumably examined the documents. This says the stipend is $75,000. For a year. Plus housing, plus materials, Vanessa added. It would solve everything. You could create without financial pressure. Redeem yourself in the art world. A long pause followed. When Liam spoke again, his voice had changed, become wary. What's the catch? Why are you doing this? Maybe I feel guilty, Vanessa suggested. Maybe I still care what happens to you, despite everything. Or maybe this is some kind of setup, Liam countered. This is too convenient, Vanessa. Too perfect. What does your husband know about us meeting tonight? On the monitor, Maxwell saw Vanessa tense slightly. Nothing. He thinks I'm having dinner with Nicole. Bullshit, Liam spat. You're lying. This whole thing stinks of manipulation. The fancy hotel, the bourbon, now this too good to be true art fellowship. What's really going on? The plan was fraying at the edges, but Maxwell had anticipated resistance. He nodded to Heather, who typed rapidly on her laptop. Seconds later, Vanessa's phone could be heard chiming with a text notification. Who's that? Liam demanded. The Harrington Foundation director, Vanessa improvised smoothly. He's in town and wants to meet you. Tonight. Tonight. Liam repeated, disbelief evident. Just like that. Art patronage is a personal business, Vanessa said. He wants to get a sense of you as a person before formalizing the offer. This is insane, Liam muttered, but his resistance was weakening. The prospect of financial salvation was too tempting. Where would I meet him? There's a private dining room downstairs, Vanessa said. I just need to freshen up before we go down. Give me 5 minutes. Maxwell watched the bathroom door close on the suite's camera feed. Exactly 47 seconds later, the connecting door to the adjoining room opened, and Vanessa slipped through, looking flushed but triumphant. He's buying it, she whispered. Completely. Maxwell nodded approvingly. Excellent. Now stay here with Heather. I'll take it from here. He straightened his bespoke suit, checked his appearance in the mirror, and strode purposefully toward the main suite door. The deception was nearing its climax. Now came the confrontation he had been meticulously planning for weeks. Maxwell Donovan was about to personally deliver the next phase of justice. Chapter 6. The Preparation. The suite door closed behind Maxwell with a soft click. On the surveillance monitor, Heather and Vanessa watched as Liam paced the main room, bourbon in hand, occasionally glancing at the bathroom door with growing impatience. He's getting antsy, Heather observed. How long is Max going to let him stew? As long as necessary, Vanessa replied, surprising herself with how easily she had slipped into Maxwell's strategic mindset. Anxiety makes people sloppy. In the hallway, Maxwell conferred briefly with 2 men in dark suits, hotel security personnel, who owed their positions to his influence. After giving specific instructions, he proceeded to the service elevator, descending to the kitchen level where another contact awaited. Raymond Keller, the hotel's executive chef and another former client, nodded respectfully as Maxwell approached. It's prepared as you requested, Raymond said, indicating a covered silver tray. Though I still don't understand the purpose. Better that way, Maxwell assured him, lifting the cover to inspect the contents. A single glass of amber liquid, identical in appearance to the bourbon Liam was drinking upstairs. The private dining room is ready. Room 3, as specified. No cameras, no staff except Paolo, who understands discretion. Maxwell thanked him with a generous envelope and made his way to the private dining area. Room 3 was intimate. One table, 2 chairs, soft lighting. He placed the tray on the table and took a moment to center himself, reviewing the sequence of events to follow. This phase required precision timing. Too early, and Liam might not be sufficiently intoxicated. Too late, and he might become belligerent or suspicious. Maxwell checked his watch, then sent a text to Heather. Proceed with extraction. Upstairs, Heather showed the message to Vanessa. That's our cue. You know what to do. Vanessa hesitated. I'm not sure I can face him again. He's getting worked up. You don't have to, Heather replied, pointing to another monitor showing the hallway. Security is in position. Just call through the bathroom door that the foundation director is waiting downstairs, then stay in here. They'll escort him down. Vanessa nodded, relieved. She returned to the main suite through the connecting door and locked herself in the bathroom. Liam, she called out. Sorry for the delay. Roger Harrington is waiting in private dining room 3. The concierge will show you down. I'll join you in a few minutes. You're not coming with me now? Liam's voice was thick with suspicion and bourbon. I need to fix my makeup, Vanessa improvised. First impressions matter. Go ahead, I'll be right behind you. A long pause followed. Fine, Liam eventually growled. But if this is some kind of game. It's not, Vanessa assured him. This is your chance, Liam. Don't mess it up by being confrontational. They listened as Liam huffed, gathered the fellowship documents, and left the suite. On the hallway camera, they watched as the security personnel smoothly intercepted him, guiding him toward the elevator with professional deference. Target in transit, one guard murmured into his wrist communicator. Back in the surveillance room, Vanessa exhaled shakily. Now what? Now we wait, Heather said, eyes fixed on the monitors. And we watch the show. Meanwhile, Maxwell stood as Liam was ushered into the private dining room. The artist's face registered shock, then fury, as he recognized who awaited him. You son of a bitch, Liam snarled, lunging forward only to be restrained by the security guards. I should have known this was a setup. Maxwell raised a hand, dismissing the guards. We'll be fine, gentlemen. Mr. Porter and I are old friends. We have much to discuss. The guards withdrew reluctantly, closing the door behind them. Sit down, Liam, Maxwell said calmly, gesturing to the chair across from him. I'm not taking orders from you. Liam spat, though the bourbon in his system made him sway slightly. Where's Vanessa? Reconsidering her choices, I imagine, Maxwell replied. As you should be. Liam's bloodshot eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? What is all this? This, Maxwell said, indicating the room with a sweep of his hand, is an opportunity for clarity. Please sit. You look unsteady. After a moment's defiance, Liam dropped heavily into the chair. The Harrington Foundation isn't real, is it? Oh, it's quite real, Maxwell corrected. Though they have no interest in your work. No one does, from what I understand. Liam's face contorted with rage. You arrogant prick. You think because you have money and connections you understand art? You understand nothing. I understand loyalty, Maxwell countered. I understand respect. Concepts that seem to have eluded you. He pushed the covered tray toward Liam. Drink. I'm not touching anything you offer. Maxwell shrugged and removed the cover, revealing the single glass. Suit yourself. Though it might make this conversation more palatable. Liam's eyes fixed on the bourbon, his addiction visibly warring with his suspicion. What conversation? Why am I here? Where's Vanessa? Vanessa is where she belongs, Maxwell said. Home. With family. He leaned forward. You, on the other hand, have a decision to make. What kind of decision? The kind that determines your future, Maxwell said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Or whether you have one at all. Fear flickered across Liam's face. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you choices, Maxwell corrected. Choice 1, you leave Boston tonight. Never contact Vanessa again. Never speak of your association with her. In return, you receive this. He slid a thick envelope across the table. Liam stared at it without touching it. What is it? $50,000, Maxwell said. Cash. Enough to clear your immediate debts and start somewhere new. Somewhere far from here. Liam's eyes widened, then narrowed again. And choice 2. Maxwell's smile was cold. You refuse my generous offer. In that case, several things happen in rapid succession. First, the photos of you striking my wife in Vermont. Yes, we have those. Go to the police. Second, evidence of certain narcotic transactions you conducted last year finds its way to the district attorney's office. Third, your remaining art connections receive documentation of your increasingly erratic behavior, ensuring no gallery touches your work again. Liam had gone pale. You can't do that. I assure you. I can, Maxwell said. And I will, if necessary. So what will it be, Liam? A fresh start elsewhere, or destruction here? Liam's hand trembled as it finally reached for the glass of bourbon. He drained it in one swallow. This is blackmail. This is consequence, Maxwell corrected. You took something precious from me. Consider yourself fortunate I'm offering any path to redemption. Liam stared at the empty glass, then at the envelope. The fight seemed to drain from him, replaced by a resigned bitterness. You always win, don't you, Maxwell? Always in control. I protect what's mine, Maxwell replied simply. Take the money, Liam. Start over. It's more than you deserve. After a long moment, Liam reached for the envelope, stuffing it inside his jacket. I want to talk to Vanessa. One last time. That won't be possible. Afraid she might choose me again? Liam taunted, a last desperate jab. Maxwell's expression didn't change. She made her choice when she returned home, as you've now made yours. He stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Security will escort you out. There's a car waiting to take you to South Station. The last train to New York leaves in 40 minutes. I suggest you be on it. As Liam was led away, Maxwell remained in the private dining room, contemplating the empty glass on the table. Phase 2 was complete. Liam had taken the bait and the drink. Now the final preparations could begin. Upstairs, Vanessa and Heather had watched the entire exchange on a tablet linked to a hidden camera in the dining room. He's letting him go? Vanessa asked, disbelief in her voice. After everything, he's just giving Liam money and sending him away? Heather's smile was enigmatic. My dear sister, you still don't understand Maxwell at all, do you? Nothing is ever as simple as it appears. In the corridor outside the private dining rooms, Maxwell intercepted the hotel doctor who had been waiting discreetly nearby. Is it working? He asked quietly. The doctor nodded. The sedative in the bourbon is taking effect. Combined with what he's already consumed, he'll be compliant but conscious. Exactly as you requested. Excellent, Maxwell said. Have him taken to the loading dock. Raymond will handle the next phase. The pieces were in place. The final act of justice was about to begin. Chapter 7. The Execution. The Donovan family estate in rural Massachusetts had belonged to Maxwell's grandmother, a formidable woman who had taught him the value of patience and the power of consequences. The sprawling property, with its main house and separate guest house, sat on 20 acres of woodland, ensuring complete privacy. It was here, in the renovated barn that Maxwell now used as a personal retreat, that Liam Porter regained consciousness. He found himself seated in a sturdy wooden chair, hands secured behind his back with what appeared to be high-end zip ties. The space was immaculate, polished concrete floors, exposed beams, and state-of-the-art lighting that currently cast the large room in a theatrical glow. What the hell? Liam mumbled, head pounding as he tried to orient himself. Where am I? Somewhere private, came Maxwell's voice from the shadows. Somewhere we can finish our conversation without interruption. Maxwell stepped into the light, no longer wearing his business suit, but dressed casually in black slacks and a charcoal sweater. He looked relaxed, at ease in a way that made Liam's blood run cold. This is kidnapping, Liam said, struggling against his restraints. You can't do this. I think we've established that I can do many things, Maxwell replied, pulling up a chair to sit opposite his captive. The question is what I will choose to do now that we have this opportunity for complete honesty. Honesty, Liam repeated incredulously. You drugged me. A mild sedative, Maxwell corrected. Nothing harmful. Unlike, say, striking a woman in the face, which can cause lasting damage. Liam's expression darkened. Vanessa told you. Vanessa showed me, Maxwell said, producing his phone and displaying a photo. It showed Vanessa with a bruised face, clearly taken recently. You left quite a mark. I was drunk, Liam muttered. She provoked me. Ah, yes. The classic defense of the abuser. Maxwell's voice remained conversational, which somehow made it more terrifying. Tell me, Did you feel powerful in that moment, when your hand connected with her face? Liam glared silently. I'm genuinely curious, Maxwell pressed. When did you first realize you could solve problems with violence? Was it with Vanessa, or has this been a pattern? You're one to talk, Liam spat. Look at what you're doing right now. Maxwell smiled thinly. There's a difference. I'm not acting out of uncontrolled rage. This is deliberate. From the barn entrance came the sound of a door opening. Heather walked in, carrying a tray with coffee and what appeared to be breakfast pastries. She set it on a nearby table. Everything's ready, she reported to Maxwell. Vanessa's in the main house, as instructed. Excellent, Maxwell nodded. Would you like to stay for this part? Heather considered Liam with detached curiosity. No, I think I'll check on my sister. This feels like something between you two men. After she left, Liam stared at the closed door. She's in on this too? What did you do? Brainwash the entire family? On the contrary, Maxwell said, pouring himself coffee. I simply offered perspectives they hadn't considered, options they didn't know existed. He sipped his coffee, regarding Liam over the rim of the cup. Which brings us to your options. I thought we covered those at the hotel, Liam said. Before you drugged me and brought me to wherever the hell this is. That was a prelude, Maxwell explained. Necessary theater to move us to this more private venue. He set down his cup and reached for a leather portfolio similar to the one from the hotel suite, though this one was genuine. From it, he withdrew several documents, laying them on a small table within Liam's view. These are the actual choices before you, Maxwell said. Option 1. You sign over all rights to your artwork, past, present, and future, to a foundation I control. You also sign a non-disclosure agreement regarding your relationship with Vanessa and the events of the past month. In return, you receive the $50,000 promised earlier, plus clear title to the Vermont cabin. Liam frowned. You'd give me the cabin? Why? Because it's worth more to you emotionally than financially, Maxwell said simply. And because isolation suits my purposes. What purposes? Your rehabilitation, Maxwell said. You'll remain in Vermont, creating art that now legally belongs to my foundation. You'll receive a quarterly stipend, enough to live modestly, but not enough to fuel self-destruction. You'll have no contact with Vanessa or anyone connected to her. Ever. Liam stared at him. You want to own me? My work. I want to contain you, Maxwell corrected. There's a difference. And if I refuse? Maxwell's expression didn't change. Option 2 involves those photos I mentioned, plus some rather convincing evidence of criminal activity that may or may not actually exist. The district attorney, as I mentioned, is a close personal friend, as is Judge Harriman, who would likely preside over your case. You'd frame me, Liam said flatly. I'd ensure justice is served, Maxwell countered. One way or another. Liam was silent for a long moment, assessing his situation. This is insane. You're insane. No, Liam. I'm methodical. Maxwell leaned forward. You took my wife. You abused her. You thought there would be no consequences because men like you, talented, charming, but fundamentally weak, rarely face them. I'm simply correcting that imbalance. And what does Vanessa think of all this? Liam asked. Does she know you've got me tied up in a barn, threatening to destroy my life? Vanessa understands the necessity of resolution, Maxwell said. She's made her choice. Now you make yours. He pushed a pen toward Liam, whose hands he had freed from the restraints while maintaining control of the situation. Sign the documents. Take the money and the cabin. Create your art in solitude. Or face the alternative. Maxwell checked his watch. You have 2 minutes to decide. Liam stared at the documents, then at Maxwell's implacable face. The reality of his situation settled over him like a shroud. There was no winning here, no outmaneuvering the man who had calculated every move, anticipated every resistance. With a hand that shook slightly, Liam picked up the pen. Maxwell smiled. The execution of justice had begun. Chapter 8. The Confrontation. Later that evening, Maxwell returned to the main house to find Vanessa waiting in the living room. She sat rigidly on the edge of the sofa, hands clasped in her lap, looking as though she'd been rehearsing what to say. Is it done? She asked as he entered. It's done, Maxwell confirmed, pouring himself a drink. Liam has been escorted to the Vermont cabin. He'll remain there under supervision for the foreseeable future. Supervision? Vanessa repeated. What does that mean? It means Raymond's nephew, The ex-military one with the security background will be staying in a trailer on the property, ostensibly as a groundskeeper. In reality, to ensure Liam honors our agreement. Vanessa stood, pacing nervously. This is extreme, Max. Even for you. Is it? He raised an eyebrow. A man who struck you, who threatened you, who participated in the betrayal of our marriage, is now safely contained where he can do no further harm. His talent will be preserved and monetized. He'll have shelter, sustenance, purpose. Some might call it merciful. But for how long? Vanessa pressed. You can't keep him prisoner forever. Not a prisoner, Maxwell corrected. A contractual partner. And the arrangement lasts as long as necessary. Until I'm satisfied that the scales are balanced. Vanessa faltered, clearly unsettled by the implications. And what about us? What happens now? Maxwell regarded her thoughtfully. In the weeks since her departure and return, he had observed her closely. The remorse seemed genuine, as did her cooperation in his plan for Liam. But the betrayal remained, a wound that no amount of contrition could fully heal. That, he said carefully, depends on several factors, including what you truly want, Vanessa. I want to come home, she said quickly, to rebuild what we had, to make amends. And Heather? Maxwell asked, his voice neutral. What about my relationship with your sister? Vanessa flinched slightly. That's complicated. But she told me it was part of the plan. To make me jealous, to test my commitment to our marriage. Maxwell's laugh was short and without humor. Is that what she told you? Before Vanessa could respond, Heather entered the room, her timing impeccable as always. She wore one of Maxwell's shirts like a dress, her legs bare, a deliberate display of intimacy. I told her what she needed to hear, Heather said, moving to stand beside Maxwell. Just as we agreed. Vanessa looked between them, confusion giving way to dawning comprehension. You mean, it wasn't just for show? You two are actually together, Heather finished, slipping her arm through Maxwell's. Have been since the night you left. But that's... Vanessa stopped, struggling for words. Max, she's my sister. This is beyond betrayal. This is perverse. Perverse? Maxwell echoed, his voice hardening. Like sleeping with my friend? Like abandoning our marriage without discussion? Like those perversions of loyalty and respect? That was different, Vanessa protested weakly. Was it? Heather challenged. You broke his heart, Vanessa. What did you expect him to do? Sit alone in an empty house, pining for your return? Vanessa turned to Maxwell, desperation in her eyes. Max, please. Whatever happened between you and Heather, it doesn't have to define our future. We can start fresh. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I came back. I chose you. After Liam disappointed you, Maxwell pointed out. After he revealed his true nature. Not because you truly wanted me. That's not fair, Vanessa said, tears welling. People make mistakes. They deserve second chances. Some mistakes can't be erased, Maxwell replied. Some betrayals cut too deep. He moved to the mantelpiece, removing an envelope from behind a decorative box. Which brings us to the next phase of our resolution. What is that? Vanessa asked, eyeing the envelope with trepidation. Divorce papers, Maxwell said simply. Already prepared. Already signed by me. Awaiting only your signature. Vanessa stared at the envelope as if it might bite her. Divorce? After everything we've been through these past weeks? After I helped you with Liam? Your assistance was appreciated, Maxwell acknowledged, and will be reflected in the settlement. You'll find the terms quite generous. I don't want a settlement, Vanessa said, voice rising. I want my husband back. Your husband died the night you left, Maxwell said quietly. What remains is someone else entirely. Someone who sees clearly now what he was blind to before. What does that mean? Vanessa whispered. It means I no longer love you, Maxwell stated, the words falling like stones in the silent room. What I feel now is different, cleaner, in some ways, uncontaminated by sentimentality or illusion. Heather watched this exchange with a strange combination of triumph and sympathy. He's offering you freedom, Vanessa, a fresh start, financial security. Most women in your position would be grateful. Most women aren't being discarded for their own sister. Vanessa snapped. She turned back to Maxwell, switching tactics. You can't possibly intend to stay with her. She's using you, Max. Can't you see that? She's always been jealous of what I had. Perhaps, Maxwell conceded. But unlike you, she's never lied to me. never betrayed me. Her motives may not be pure, but they're transparent. Vanessa's composure cracked completely. This is insane. You orchestrated this whole thing, getting me to help trap Liam, making me believe we were working toward reconciliation, when all along you planned to throw me away. To replace me with my sister? Not replacement, Maxwell corrected. Evolution. Our marriage was already dead, Vanessa. You killed it. What happens next is simply adaptation. Heather moved to the bar cart, pouring Vanessa a generous glass of scotch. Drink this, she advised, handing it to her sister. Then read the divorce agreement. You'll see Max as being more than fair. Vanessa took the glass automatically, but didn't drink. I won't sign, she declared. I refuse. This marriage deserves another chance. Maxwell's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes hardened further. That would be unwise. Are you threatening me now? Vanessa demanded. Like you threatened Liam? Not threatening, Maxwell clarified. Informing. The settlement offer is good for 48 hours. After that, alternative measures become necessary. What alternative measures? Instead of answering directly, Maxwell nodded to Heather, who retrieved a tablet from a nearby drawer. She pulled up a video and turned the screen toward Vanessa. The footage showed Vanessa in the hotel suite with Liam, recorded from the hidden cameras. But this wasn't the conversation they had planned. This was edited, skillfully, professionally, to create a very different narrative. In this version, Vanessa appeared to be conspiring with Liam against Maxwell, discussing ways to access his finances, even contemplating more permanent solutions to the Maxwell problem. This is fake, Vanessa gasped. I never said any of those things. It's convincing, though, isn't it? Maxwell remarked. Especially with the authentic background elements. The same clothes you wore. The same hotel suite. Your voice, his responses. You wouldn't dare use this, Vanessa said, though her confidence was clearly shaken. It's fraud. In court, perhaps, Maxwell agreed. But in the court of public opinion? Among our friends, our professional circles? The damage would be done long before any legal remedies could be applied. And with your recent history of erratic behavior. He let the implication hang in the air. You're blackmailing me, Vanessa said, stunned realization in her voice. You're doing to me exactly what you did to Liam. I'm offering you choices, Maxwell corrected. Just as I offered him choices. Sign the papers, accept the settlement, move on with your life. Or force my hand and face consequences far less pleasant than financial security and freedom. Vanessa looked to Heather, searching for some hint of sisterly loyalty or compassion. She found none. He's serious, Vanessa, Heather said quietly. Take the deal. Walk away. The confrontation had reached its climax. Vanessa stood alone against the united front of Maxwell and Heather, her options dwindling with each passing moment. The divorce papers lay on the coffee table between them, a bridge to an uncertain future. I need time to think, Vanessa said finally, her voice small. You have 48 hours, Maxwell reminded her. Not a minute more. With that pronouncement, the lines were drawn. The final battle for control had been engaged, and Maxwell Donovan, as always, held the superior position. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. 6 months later, Maxwell Donovan stood at the expansive windows of his downtown Boston office, gazing out at the harbor. The city had emerged from winter into a promising spring, mirroring the transformation in his own life. The door opened behind him, and Heather entered, carrying a manila envelope. In the months since Vanessa's departure, Heather had evolved from accomplice to partner, her natural intelligence finding expression in various aspects of Maxwell's business interests. The final paperwork, she announced, placing the envelope on his desk. Vanessa's new identity is complete. Bank accounts established, apartment lease secured in Phoenix. As far as the world is concerned, Vanessa Donovan has ceased to exist. Diana Mercer is now officially a real person. Maxwell nodded approvingly. And our friend in Vermont? Any issues there? Quite the opposite, Heather replied, pulling up images on her tablet. His output has increased dramatically. The isolation seems to agree with him. Raymond's nephew reports he's been sober for almost 4 months now. The screen displayed photographs of striking new artworks, Liam's distinctive style, but with a darker edge, a depth previously absent. The Hammer Gallery showing next month is already generating buzz, Heather continued. The mysterious recluse artist narrative is proving quite marketable. 3 pieces pre-sold for significant amounts. Excellent, Maxwell said, genuine appreciation in his voice. Creative containment at its finest. He returned to his desk, examining the paperwork Heather had brought. Everything was in order, as expected. His plan had unfolded with surgical precision, despite a few necessary adjustments along the way. Vanessa had ultimately signed the divorce papers, accepting the settlement and the implicit threat behind Maxwell's alternative. What she hadn't anticipated was the additional stipulation that had activated once the divorce was final: a complete separation from her former identity, a permanent exile from Boston and from her previous life. It wasn't technically witness protection, but the mechanism was similar. New name, new social security number, courtesy of connections that cost Maxwell a small fortune, new life 3,000 miles away. The substantial settlement ensured she would never want financially, but the invisible chains he had placed around her were no less binding for being gilded. As for Liam, his confinement at the Vermont cabin had proven unexpectedly productive. Under constant but unobtrusive surveillance, denied alcohol, but provided with premium art supplies and a structured routine, he had flourished creatively. The contract he had signed gave Maxwell ownership of all his work, which was now being marketed through a gallery Maxwell had recently acquired. The irony wasn't lost on him. The very talent that had helped Liam seduce Vanessa was now generating profit for the man he had betrayed. "You're looking pleased," Heather observed, perching on the edge of his desk. "Satisfaction of justice served?" "Something like that," Maxwell acknowledged. "Though justice might not be the right word. Balance, perhaps. Restoration of proper order." Heather studied him with the directness that had drawn him to her from the beginning. "And us? Where do we stand in this restored order?" It was a fair question. Their relationship had begun as a strategic alliance, a mutual leveraging of Vanessa's betrayal for their respective advantages. Heather gained access to wealth and influence she had always coveted. Maxwell secured a loyal partner in his campaign of retribution. But somewhere along the way, something unexpected had developed. Not love, precisely, but a genuine connection based on shared perspective. They saw the world similarly, approached problems with complementary methodologies. Together, they were formidable. "We stand together," Maxwell said simply, "for as long as that arrangement benefits us both." Heather smiled, appreciating his honesty. "No false promises of eternal devotion. How refreshing." "We're beyond such sentimentality," Maxwell replied. "What we have is more valuable. Mutual respect. Shared purpose." "Speaking of shared purpose," Heather said, transitioning smoothly, "there's the matter of the Porter Gallery acquisition. Lawrence is being difficult about the terms." "Lawrence Porter," Maxwell mused. "Liam's father. Still bitter about his son's self-imposed exile, I imagine." "Increasingly so," Heather confirmed. "He's been making inquiries, suggesting he might visit the Vermont property." Maxwell frowned slightly. This was an unforeseen complication, though not entirely unexpected. Family connections were always potential weaknesses in otherwise perfect plans. "Perhaps it's time Mr. Porter received some clarity about his son's situation," he said after a moment's consideration. "Arrange a meeting. My territory, my terms. And if he proves unreceptive to your perspective?" Heather asked, already anticipating the answer. "Then he joins the ranks of those who underestimated the consequences of opposing me," Maxwell said, his voice carrying the quiet certainty that had become his trademark. "I've developed quite an effective system for managing such cases." Heather nodded, understanding completely. In the months of their partnership, she had witnessed and participated in Maxwell's methodical approach to eliminating obstacles. The ruthlessness that made him exceptional in the courtroom translated seamlessly to personal matters. "I'll make the arrangements," she said, standing to leave. At the door, she paused, looking back at him. "Do you ever regret any of it? Vanessa, Liam, the extremes we've gone to?" Maxwell considered the question with genuine reflection. "Regret implies a wish that things had happened differently," he said finally. "I don't wish that. Every step, every decision, led to this moment, a world ordered according to my design. Why would I regret creating precisely what I intended?" Heather smiled, satisfied with the answer. As she closed the door behind her, Maxwell returned to the window, gazing out at the city that had no idea what had transpired beneath its surface. The betrayal that had threatened to destroy him had instead forged something new, a man unbound by conventional morality or emotional weakness. Vanessa and Liam had broken the rules of loyalty and trust. In response, Maxwell had simply changed the game entirely, establishing himself as not merely a player but the architect of a new reality. In that reality, betrayal carried a price that few would willingly pay. Justice, as defined by Maxwell Donovan, was neither blind nor merciful. It was exacting, comprehensive, and absolute. As he had demonstrated beyond any doubt, he would never forgive or forget, and those who crossed him would forever bear the marks of his retribution. The game was over. Maxwell had won, and the board was set for whatever challenge might come next. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.